why, like putting history aside, it's just recent decisions that they've made when it comes to Hezbollah, because that's where me and you debated. I found Israel's attacks on Hezbollah were justified until recently, Jonathan, as you know, when Israel started wiping out villages, which we've had a discussion about, Jonathan, a few times. I was pretty upset about it. So my question to you, Dimitri, is what made you so vocal against Israeli foreign policy, where you just genuinely I feel you get upset about it whenever we talk about it?
You say I'm upset. We've talked about this before, Mario. The word that I would use is indignation. I think that is the most accurate description of my emotional reaction to what Israel is doing. And as an international human rights lawyer who's practiced for over 30 years and been on the ground reporting in these war zones and seen with his own eyes what is happening, any human being would be indignant at the genocidal rampage of Israel in not only Gaza, but in the West Bank and in South Lebanon. It's theft of territory in Syria. It's theft of territory in Lebanon. It's launch of a war of aggression on Iran, not once, but at least twice, in violation of the United Nations Charter, which now threatens to destroy the entire global economy. And what I want to ask Jonathan, and I think we should be addressing this right out of the gate, is, does Israel have nuclear weapons, Jonathan?
Well, I'm not here to answer your questions. It's fine.
I'll ask it. I'll let you respond, Jonathan. I'll ask it as well, Jonathan, because that nuclear ambiguity is, I think that kind of ship has sailed. I think I've asked you that question, and if I remember correctly, you did answer it directly, Jonathan. I'll put you on the spot again. Yeah. Do they have nuclear weapons?
Yeah, I mean, so let's begin with recognizing where both of us stand, and then I'll answer the question. I stand here as a proud Israeli citizen, as someone who has fought for this country for 24 years. I served in the IDF. I protected Israeli civilians along the northern border, along the Gaza border, in Judea and Samaria, on the Golan Heights. And in terms of what drives me and motivates me, it is a love for my country and for my people, and a tremendous gratitude to be a free Jew living in his homeland, his ancestral homeland, his modern, thriving, democratic, and very successful homeland, which I understand is infuriating for a lot of people and causes a lot of heartache for a lot of anti-Semites and haters. But that is my perspective, and I've fought on the usual battlefield, and I now fight more in the battlefield of information. What motivates other people, from looking at your Twitter feed, you seem like a person obsessed, not indignant, but you seem like a person with a personal obsession with the Jewish state, with someone who continues to whitewash the crimes of all of our enemies, whoever they are, and has this real pathological focus on the Jewish state, on the state of Israel. Whatever happens, whether it's climate situation, whether it's agricultural issues, and everything in between, sky and earth, you have this consistent pathological knack for blaming Israel or the Jews for it.
Can you answer it directly now, as someone not working with the IDF? Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Yeah, I think, based on a lot of available information, since I'm not in an official position, I think based on a lot of available information, I think it's pretty likely that Israel indeed possesses those capabilities.
The question he's asking is it fair? So you talked about Israel having a nuclear weapon, and that's a valid question a lot of people are asking. Is it fair for Israel to have a nuclear weapon, a country that's attacking multiple countries right now, that's attacking Syria, completely unprovoked? Lebanon, you can argue Hezbollah's there.
A jihadi army overtook Syria with their Toyota pickup trucks, traveling with Turkish air support from the north and sweeping the country in 11 days. Surely you wouldn't expect Israel to sit by and wait for them to establish enough forces on the Golan Heights.
Be honest with me. Be honest with me. You think it's the right approach? You think it's the right approach to bomb the Syrian military now with al-Shara? Al-Shara is pretty obviously trying to make peace with all countries involved, and he said pretty openly he would like to improve relations with Israel. Now, obviously, he has to be careful what to say, because there's a lot of animosity in Syria against Israel. But we do agree he is trying to do the right thing. Can we agree on that?
That's, I think, still open to be verified.
Hezbollah keeps attacking Israel, and they did it at the behest of Iran. You cannot expect Israel, where the civilians in the north have to keep evacuating south, not to respond. Now, I'm not talking about responding by leveling villages, because that's where I draw the line, and Jonathan knows this. But you cannot expect Israel to be attacked by a militia up north again, a militia that's been aggressive towards Israel and supporting Iranian interests for years and decades, to not respond militarily. So I think this is a very fair argument where it is. I criticize Israel for what they did in Syria, what they're doing in Palestine, and even the Iran war I'm critical of. But when it comes to Lebanon, it's a very justified response of self-defense. And as long as Hezbollah is there, and as long as Hezbollah is attacking them or deciding when to attack them, you cannot expect Israel not to try to find a solution militarily, not to respond militarily. So in my view, Hezbollah is a threat to Israel and even a threat to Lebanon because of their allegiance or partial allegiance to Iran. But you disagree with that?
Yes, because self-defense is not a right with respect to which Israel has a monopoly. All peoples have a right to self-defense. And by any rational measure, it is Israel that is the aggressor with respect to Lebanon, and indeed with respect to all of these states with which it is in military conflict. Has Hezbollah occupied Israeli land? No. But Israel currently occupies Israeli land, belligerent occupation, and has repeatedly, Lebanese land, and has repeatedly inserted its military forces all the way even to Beirut in occupation of Lebanese land. So how can you, in those circumstances, paint Hezbollah or any Lebanese resistance group as the aggressor? Furthermore, the casualties that Lebanon has sustained consistently from the very moment that Israel and resistance groups in Lebanon entered into military conflict have vastly surpassed those of Israel. And let's just focus on what has happened since March 2nd. Since March 2nd, according to Israel, and I don't have faith in Israel's numbers, but I'm going to be generous and say, let's take them for granted. They say that they've lost 18 soldiers since March 2nd and 4 civilians. Okay, the Lebanese Health Ministry, which, by the way, is not unfriendly to Israel, let's be very clear about that. The government of Lebanon is hostile to Hezbollah. It's not under Hezbollah's control, and it is quite cooperative with Israel and will not actually defend Lebanon against Israeli attacks. That's plain for all the world to see. That health ministry says that Lebanon has sustained 2,800 casualties since March 2nd. 2,800. Even if you assume that half of those are Hezbollah fighters, you have a ratio of civilian casualties that is hundreds to 1 on the Lebanese side. And this has consistently been the case. So no rational, fair-minded human being would say that Hezbollah or any other Lebanese resistance group, and it's not just Hezbollah that has resisted Israeli aggression, is the aggressor. By any rational measure, it is Israel. And not only that, may I please continue?
Yeah,
you guys had you had a lot of time to chat while I wasn't there. I also want to respond to the things that Jonathan said about me. He was quite ad hominem, and I'd like to respond to that. Okay. We also know from reports of IDF commanders to the Israeli media that they are razing to the ground civilian infrastructure in southern Lebanon. Razing to the ground. We have seen repeated reports of Israel targeting medical workers, emergency workers, journalists in Lebanon. Okay? Hezbollah hasn't killed journalists in Israel. It's not murdering Israeli journalists. It's not murdering ambulance drivers in Israel. So how can any rational person say that Lebanon is the aggressor or has ever been the aggressor? They too have a right to self-defense. Let me finish. I'm not a former lawyer. I'm a current lawyer. I've been practicing law for over 30 years, and you had plenty of time to say stuff about me, and I am now. Mario, may I please respond to what he said?
Of course. And Jonathan, just so you know, his mic is now better than yours, so when he speaks, we can't hear you at all. So now he's got the upper hand when you speak over each other. Go ahead, Dimitri.
I'm not really concerned by it, but really, if that's your logical reasoning,
I'm not going to. I've been defending the Palestinian cause for a good 15 years. I've been through this rigmarole before. You have a pathological hatred for Israel. You're obsessed with Israel. You're an anti-Semite. This is always coming from people who, of course, are fanatical supporters of Israel. And I'm not going to respond to this crap. What I will say is this: by any rational measure, Jonathan is a terrorist. And he is a war criminal.
But I'm not going to stand by and allow you to say these horrible, unfounded allegations.
But you can say horrible things about me?
Canadian who live thanks to the sacrifices that your grandfathers and your former generations have done on the battlefield, but you're too poisoned in your mind to recognize what Canada is today and what danger people like you bring to Canada by espousing Islamist theocracy, by whitewashing Russian imperialism, by
I'm an
supporting
atheist.
Hezbollah and Hamas and many others. Yes, but you sure do a very good job in stoking anti-Semitism.
You're a terrorist and you're a war criminal. Let's be very clear about that.
Not
If you
at
want to
all.
sue me for,
Not at
you want
all.
to sue me for defamation, I'll give you my address and you know where to send me the legal process.
When Hamas attacked into Israel and butchered 1,300 Israelis, most of them civilians, and on October 8th, Hezbollah, hastily, unprepared, but nevertheless, started to attack Israel by trying to infiltrate our borders and by firing thousands of rockets at Israeli communities in northern Israel. Why did they do so? Because they work for Iran. They do not work for Lebanon. They are not the defenders of Lebanon. They are the forward arm, the forward outpost of the Iranian empire, the crumbling, weak, corrupt, dysfunctional empire, but nevertheless a forward outpost of the Iranians.
I'll let you, because I've got a question for you afterwards. But Jonathan, on the leveling of villages that happened afterwards, this is where, because I agree with you, and I disagree with Dimitri, it was Hezbollah that was the aggressor first against Israel. Whether you agree with their attack or not, that's personal preference, but it was Hezbollah that attacked them first, before the genocide or before the attack on Gaza, the war started. But on the what is going on right now in the last few weeks,
So, you know, Israel has warned several times, and I myself, when I was spokesperson many years ago, we shared intel with the New York Times exclusively, where we said, we gave the example of all of Hezbollah's military infrastructure within civilian buildings in the Lebanese town of El Hayam in southeastern Lebanon, close about 4 kilometers from the Israeli border or the Blue Line.
And you said, based on the information that's available, you believe they do. So a lot of people are questioning right now, Iran wants to build nuclear weapons as a deterrent against future attacks. At least you might see it differently. That's how I see it. Israel has nuclear weapons, as you've described, as a deterrent against those that want to destroy the state of Israel. What's your response to that argument? If Israel has the right in the region to have a nuclear weapon, why doesn't Iran, who's just been victim to 2 wars of aggression that Iran did not directly initiate. We're not talking about proxy conflicts. Why shouldn't Iran have a nuclear weapon? Or why should Israel? So it's either both should or both shouldn't.
Yeah, let's look at Middle Eastern history. I think the country in the Middle East that has faced by far, by a tremendous margin, the most amount of aggression, state-sponsored, not non-state-sponsored attacks against it, and the common desire by various of its neighbor and non-neighboring countries to annihilate it is the state of Israel.
But since 1979, they've been attacked by Iraq in a bloody war. They've been attacked afterwards by Israel in a 12-day war with a 1-day bombing by the US. And then they've been attacked by the world's most powerful military that was advocating for regime change along with Israel. So they can make the argument that obviously they've been going through economic warfare for decades. So they can make the argument that us as a government, as the Islamic Revolution, they've been trying to destroy us for decades. In the same way Israel needs a nuclear weapon to deter anyone from destroying the state of Israel, we deserve, based on the same thought process, we deserve a nuclear weapon to deter anyone that's trying to eradicate us as a government, as a revolution.
Yeah. They could say that, and so do the North Koreans. But I don't think that you'll find a lot of people around the world who genuinely believe that North Korea having nuclear weapons is a good thing for the world. And equally so, I don't think that it's a good thing for Muammar Gaddafi to have had nuclear weapons. And I don't think that it's a good thing for the Ayatollahs in Tehran to have nuclear weapons. I don't think it's good for anybody to have nuclear weapons.
We agree, I think Israel,
there are worse countries to have.
Do you think Israel should have a nuclear weapon?
I'm happy that we have the ability to defend ourselves, the conventional and maybe unconventional ability to defend ourselves, because everybody knows that there are still a lot of crazies around us who hate us and dream about annihilating us.
Dimitri?
Well, again, one has only to look at the figures. Who has killed more civilians in West Asia? Is it Iran? Is it Hezbollah? Is it Hamas? The numbers are insanely greater on the side of the indigenous peoples of the region, the Arab peoples of the region, the civilian casualties, than they are on the Israeli side. So let's just take example, again, these propagandists from Israel love to start history on October 7, 2023, as though everything that happened prior to that time is an irrelevancy. On October 7, 2023, according to the Israeli government, the Palestinian militants killed less than 40 children. Okay, less than 40 children, not all of whom, by the way, were Jewish. I believe some of those children were non-Jews. But let's suppose it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Let's suppose they killed 40 children. Israel massacred 551 children in August 2014 in Gaza and killed another 1,200 civilians, including several hundred women. Nobody talks about that. What about the Great March of Return, during which time this character was the spokesperson for the IDF? A friend of mine, who is a Palestinian-Canadian doctor, was shot in the field during the Great March of Return while he was a spokesperson for the IDF. Twice he was shot in each leg while he was wearing medical garb and was in the field for the purpose of treating wounded civilians. And on that very same day, a medic on his team was shot in the chest and killed. We could go back every single year from the time of Israel's founding, and every single year, the civilian casualties on the Palestinian side have been far in excess of the civilian casualties on the Israeli side. And the Palestinians aren't occupying any Israeli land. It is the Israelis who are occupying Palestinian land. It is the Israelis who are occupying Syrian land, illegally annexing that land. It is the Israelis who are occupying land in Lebanon illegally. It is the Israelis who launched this war of aggression twice against Iran in violation of the United Nations Charter. If we go back to the very founding of Israel, even before then, there is no other conclusion rationally than that Israel is the aggressor and by a wide margin. So if you're going to allow any state in West Asia to have nukes, the last state it should be is Israel. The last state. Yeah. I don't want any state to have nukes, including Iran. And I sure as hell don't want the United States, which is the only country on earth to ever have used these heinous weapons and to have used them on civilian populations twice. I don't want any state, in particular the United States and Israel, to have nuclear weapons. The idea that Israel is, in light of its history, is uniquely able to be trusted with these weapons of mass destruction is farcical. Okay? So if you expect us, ordinary citizens around the world, to sit here and just swallow the destruction of the global economy so that Israel can prevent Iran from getting a weapon that it's never had and that it completely forsworn, and that Netanyahu has been telling us for more than 20 years it was on the verge of obtaining. You got another thing coming. You and I can debate until the cows come home. I got something to tell you. You talked about how much you love your country. If you love your country so much, you should think about how the global population is going to be absolutely outraged when it's plunged into a global depression because of your sick obsession with Iran and with domination of the entire region.
No, because of Iranian piracy. The only thing happening is that the true face of Iran, the imperialist regime that for many years, dozens of years, have had an official goal to annihilate what they call the Jewish entity. Am I rooting for the right side here by being so focused and obsessed on Israel and seeing this country?
You're obsessed with Iran. You're the one who's obsessed with Iran.
No,
yes, you are. Your whole country is obsessed with Iran, and it's going to destroy the global economy.
The only issue
you need some treatment for your obsession.